Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be making Randy Travis's old-fashioned oatmeal cookies. I don't really like oatmeal cookies, to be honest with you. And it has raisins in it. But we're not here for the cookies, are we? I mean, you might be. Maybe you like oatmeal cookies. If you're here for the cookies, then there's just a disclaimer. These recipes are old. Not that, a recipe itself goes bad, but we do come up with some updated cooking techniques and ingredients, so to speak, as times move along. And this recipe in general is actually from 1993. They may not be great. They may be amazing. I don't know. I'll let you know at the end. I do also have children here today and my husband here who can all taste them. At the end, I will try them as well. Like I said, I'm not really a fan. So we're gonna get started. My recipe is up here because I realize it's in eyesight and I can see it better. So we're gonna do that up here. Once again, I've pre-measured out my ingredients, except for my Quaker oats and my vanilla. So I haven't done those yet. I did also preheat my oven to 400 degrees. That is something that you should do before you get ready to start actually baking. So that way the oven is already ready to go by the time that you wanna put it in the oven. The other thing that I suggest doing is when you're reading a recipe, read the full recipe all the way through before you actually start cooking it. So read all the directions as well, because you never know, the recipe might call for you, like if you're baking sugar cookies, it might call for you to put the dough in the fridge for 2 hours before you actually bake them, because it helps the process along. So there might always be these steps that you don't realize you need to do until you get to it and you're like, oh, crap. So I like to make sure I read the recipe all the way through. Something that I did have to do for this recipe was I had to simmer raisins. So I had to reconstitute the raisins. So you use about a cup of water and a cup of raisins, and you put it in a pan on the stove and bring it up to a little bit of a boil. Then you turn it down to low to let it simmer. This says about 15 minutes, and it took just about that. And then you need to use what's left of the liquid that's in your pan after you take out your raisins, and then add a little bit of water to make sure that it's at least half a cup of liquid. This is also going into the recipe, and this is one of those parts that surprises me a little bit. I don't know that I've ever added, liquid other than like cream or milk or, I don't know. So we'll see. It smells like raisins. These little suckers are plump now, trying to get back to their prune-like consistency. But they're a part of the recipe as well. That goes there. I'm going to add in my raisins, my oats, and the nuts that I still had from the last recipe that I wasn't sure I was going to use. I'm actually happy I didn't use them because they were called for in this recipe, and I had just enough, half a cup. So my nuts, my oats, and my raisins are going to go in last, just to give them a mix, kind of like you would do with chocolate chips in the chocolate chip cookies. And all right, so we're going to get started. I have 2 bowls, one for dry, one for wet. And I think we're going to start with this one. We're going to do our wet ingredients in this one. And like I said, I've got the recipe up here so I can see it, I can read it, I can look what's going on. So simmer raisins and water over medium heat until raisins are plump. We've done that already. Now, preheat the oven to 400 degrees. We've already got that going. And you're gonna mix, so this is what I said about old recipes. The way they describe things is a little bit different, I think, than recipes nowadays. You really have to almost know how the baking process, how the mixing process for baking goes. Because this says mix thoroughly, shortening sugar, eggs, and vanilla. Stir in reserve liquid, blend in remaining ingredients. So for them, blend in remaining ingredients is actually the dry ingredients. And how I'm used to cooking and baking is you mix all the dry ingredients together first, and then you add them to your wet ingredients. And this is kind of just saying, like, you're just going to throw everything in there all willy-nilly, and I'm not about that. First, we're going to start with our shortening. 3/4 cup of shortening. We're going to plop that in there. Next is going to be 1.5 cups of sugar. This is actually more sugar than yesterday was. Look at that. I had to put it in the big bowl. So much sugar. But we're going to stick that in there. And I'm actually going to, I think, cream the sugar and the shortening together first with my mixer, my hand mixer. And then I'm going to add in the remaining vanilla, eggs, and I think I actually have to add, yep, and then I'll stir in the leftover liquid. So right now I'm going to cream these, and then I will add the rest of the ingredients in. All right, so let's give this a mix. I'm just looking to mix this long enough to make the shortening and the sugar creamy, essentially. The shortening crumbles, it seems. I guess I don't really know everything. Sometimes I think I do. All right, I think we're gonna do that, and I didn't have that in tight enough. All right, let's stick that back in there. Excuse me, sir. Oh, geez, go in your home. All right, so with shortening, it's not going to look creamy. It's actually going to look a little more crumbly, which is fine because shortening doesn't really melt. So I assume that, well, I guess it does melt. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to add in next 2 eggs. All right, if you were here for the last video, then you already know this tip. And if you've taken high school cooking classes, you probably already know this tip, but we're going to crack and dump to make sure that there are no shells and to make sure that we don't get any bad eggs. All right, crack and dump. Ooh, that one cracked weird. All right, that one goes in. Okay, next we're going to add the 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I had to crack open a whole new one because the one that I had out already, it didn't have enough in it. All right, let's get that. Where'd the thing go? Holy cow. And this is why everything gets pre-measured. Sometimes I try to save some of this stuff just to, you know, do a little bit of the prep work, you know, for the video. All right, 1 teaspoon of vanilla. That's enough of me chatting about that kind of. It's just one of those days. You see my cabinet, ignore that. That is crazy looking in there. All right, so 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I'm gonna blend those together now, and then we will add in the reserved liquid. Faster. You just want to make sure that you break up all those lumps of shortening so that way it's not like clumpy. You want it creamed really well. Ooh, all right, that's all creamed. I'm going to add in the rest of the liquid. Like I said, it was about a 1/4 cup of the liquid from the raisins while I was simmering it. So I only had to add about another 1/4 cup because you want a 1/2 cup of liquid. So I'm gonna pour this in, and then I'm gonna give it another mix real quick. See how she goes. Randy Travis was definitely, he had a couple songs that I liked. So when I saw this, it immediately, you know, brought back the memories of hearing that music, and then I remembered that I know words to songs of his, and then I was singing his music for the next couple of days, and I don't love how this is looking. I'm gonna speed this up a little bit. I think it's just another one of those things where it looks different to me because it almost looks broken, but I'm assuming that's just the sugar and the sugar and the shortening. Right, so I want to give you a peek of what it looks like. It's kind of fluffy, but I don't know if you'll see what I'm saying about it looking like it's a little broken. Like kind of how when you make a cheese sauce, it curdles. All my ingredients are up to date, so I don't know. Like I said, this recipe is not going to be the latest and greatest oatmeal. I mean, listen, it might taste good, but it's an old recipe. Maybe it's supposed to look like that. I don't know. I think we're struggling today. That's okay. So now that I've got all my wet ingredients mixed together, it wants me to just blend my remaining ingredients, but I'm going to do the things that I like to do, which is just going to take my 2.5 cups of flour, and it is 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of cloves. So we've got all of those, all of the small spices mixed in here. This is our flour. I'm gonna whisk these together first because this is a lot for my bowl, and then I'm probably gonna make a mess. So I'm just gonna give this a whisk, and then I'm gonna pour that in there. And I'm gonna try and do what I did last time. So, and now I'm just gonna kind of whisk this together to get them incorporated without getting flour everywhere. One tip I have for flour, or actually it's a rule, not a tip. When you are measuring out flour, if you're measuring it from a bag, it's a little hard sometimes to measure out flour without making a mess. But you want the flour fluffed. You don't want it packed down. Like brown sugar, you pack. Sugar, regular sugar, you don't need to. It just kind of fills it in because the grains are so small. But flour, you don't want it packed. You want it fluffy when it goes in. So I'll kind of fluff it up in the bag, and then I'll scoop it into, my measuring cup with a spoon. And then I just, scoop it so it's towering over a little bit, and then I just kind of slice the top of the flour off, try to do it in the bag. Flour is one of those things that it's just messy. There's really no way of avoiding it. All right, that's gonna be good enough. And this time around, blend in remaining ingredients. So let's make sure they go all the way in this time. All right. Now this recipe actually is also gonna, I think it says it's 6.5 dozen cookies. They're supposed to be teaspoon sized. That's gonna be a lot of cookies. I don't need that many cookies, so we're gonna have to figure out what we're gonna do with them afterwards. I'm gonna put in a little bit of my flour mixture, and then I'm gonna blend. Do it on low, otherwise everything's gonna end up in your face. A little bit more. I'm gonna speed this up just a little bit now because it's starting to get a little bit harder to mix. When I was growing up, my favorite at the time, even now, my favorite country music artist is probably Reba McEntire. Anytime I listen to her music, man, it actually, I cry almost every single time. It's crazy. I don't know that that's, I guess it's a good thing. I feel it. I feel when I listen to her song Fancy about how she was prostituted out by her mother. I guess I feel that. I don't know why. That wasn't my life, but her music speaks to my soul, I suppose. This is getting hard. See, this is when it's tough to have a hand mixer. You gotta really work them forearm muscles. All right, this is getting mixed up pretty good. It's looking nice and creamy now. It's looking better than it did a little bit ago. Whew. All right. Get all that off of there. Okay, so this is what it looks like now. It is nice and creamy mixed together. So we're gonna add the rest of our ingredients, which was a cup of raisins reconstituted. All right, I'm gonna plop those bad boys in there. And it's gonna be 1/2 cup of walnuts. And then I'm gonna do 2 cups. I didn't pre-measure this. I don't know why I just threw that so angrily. This is gonna be 2 cups of oatmeal. No, do it the right way, Rachel. Gonna measure it over top of this bowl. I don't think really, it would be a mistake if I poured too much oatmeal in this, but it would be easy to get out because the oatmeal's a little bit thicker. But I'm gonna do it the way I should. I don't always do things the way I'm supposed to. So 1 cup of oatmeal, and then 1 more cup of oatmeal. See, it's going on the floor, making a mess. All right, 2 cups of oatmeal in. And I'm not going to use I'm not going to use the just a spoon because this is a little bit heavier. I'm going to blend it with the mixer for a second, and then I might hand mix it a little bit more in. All right, so let's get this going again. Whew, that's a lot. Okay, I have my wooden spoon, and we're going to give it a mix. So these cookies are going to get dropped on by the teaspoonful on an ungreased baking sheet, and you're going to cook them for each batch 8 to 10 minutes. 8 to 10 minutes until they're light brown. Okay. Okay. Okey dokey. Really. And that's looking pretty good. Glad I've got my favorite tool. I don't know what this is called. Oh, it's Martha Stewart. Look at that. Nice. All right. Scrape all that off of the spoon so I don't make a mess in the sink. So I'm going to get out my cookie sheet and I'm going to drop them by the... I actually use a little mini ice cream scooper, so I'm going to use that. I'm going to spread them 2 inches apart, the best I know how, and then in the oven for 8 to 10 minutes. Okay, here's our pan. It's actually the same pan from last time. It's nice and new, so I'm going to continue to use it. and this is the scoop I use. It actually just makes it a lot easier, I think, to, you know, get the right amount. There have been so many times where I've made cookies that are like the size of my hand. I didn't mean to. I don't realize how much they're going to spread. That's actually what I was hoping that pumpkin roll was going to do, was going to spread the way cookies spread. It absolutely did not. So I'm going to grab some gloves just because I don't feel like having cookie dough all over my hands. And I got fancy black ones because when I'm at work, I have to use clear gloves. So at home, I buy myself the fancy black ones so I can look like a professional chef. All right. So my cookie sheet is completely ungreased. I'm going to take a scoop and try to make it as even as possible. You can see it's not really, you know, I'm not overflowing it. I'm just trying to do it. And then I'm going to drop it onto the cookie sheet. We're going to do 4 across and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 down. So it'll be about 24 cookies per tray. Depending on how big your tray is, your sizes and quantities may vary. All right. So I'm going to do this and stick them in the oven. And then we'll be back to see how everything goes. Usually when a recipe says, you know, 8 to 10 minutes like this one, or 12 to 15, I actually just start with like the middle. It's probably better to start with the lowest number and then check on them, maybe put them in for a couple more minutes, but I tend to just live on the edge and start right in the middle and hope for the best. My oven cooks pretty evenly. I think a lot of people who do bake often kind of know how their ovens work. So mine, I know it's probably going to get done in those 9 minutes. I could be completely wrong. I don't think so though. So we'll see how it goes and I'll see you back here in a little bit. I think I went longer than the song of a whippoorwill. My cookies are a little dark, so this first batch, 9 minutes was a little too long, I think. So I'm gonna go 1 minute less for the next batch, and we'll see how they go. Oh well. It's a good thing it makes 6.5 dozen cookies, because those are a little dark. We're gonna do another batch on a much older pan. Not my fancy new one. So let's do this. And then, like I said, these are gonna be about 3 down. That's not. But I'm gonna do, what was it, 8 to 10? I'm gonna do 8 minutes. To be honest with you, I went upstairs to talk to my husband, so I didn't keep my eye on them the way I should have. Come out, sir. But this time I'll stay down here and I'll check on their progress. And we'll get a good time. Listen, all that talk about ovens and knowing your oven. Listen, I said I wasn't a baker last video. Alrighty. Randy Travis, I feel like I'm not doing your cookies any justice. Hopefully you'll forgive me, sir. I had an idea about doing this whole video in a southern accent. My stepdad's from Alabama, so I've known him since I was about 5 years old. My accent, I think, is a little over animated. Sometimes when I start doing it, though, I can't get rid of it. Except for right now, because that's not what this video is about. So I'm going to stick these ones back in the oven. We're going to go with 8 minutes. I'm going to keep my eye on them this time, and then we'll see how these ones turn out. Thanks. So now that I've been watching them, the timer's about to go off. I think 8 minutes. So like I said, maybe start with the lowest. Not maybe. You should start with the lowest number, and then, you know, work your way up, because you can't go back in time, but you can go forward. So we're going to pull these out. I think they're going to be a little bit lighter than these ones. My next batch that I have that's going to go in the oven, I'm making much bigger cookies because I don't need that many. I don't need 6.5 dozen cookies. So my cookies are going to be a little bit bigger. You can do whatever you want, honestly. It's your choice. So let me get those out of the oven and stop that timer. Definitely a little bit lighter than the other ones. These ones were the ones that went in first. They're not really dark on the bottom though. And these are actually looking a little light on the top. Maybe I do need another minute. I don't really know. These cookies are throwing me for a loop here. So I don't know. The bottoms look brown, but the tops don't. I think maybe I'm going to put them in for another 30 seconds or so. I think I got to just stop saying what they should do or what I think they should do. Let the cookies tell me. Just cookies don't talk. It'd be a lot easier if they did. Ay, ay, ay. Probably going to cut this whole part out. Cut it out. My next big old batch is going in. I have these ones here. As you can see, they're on a wire rack. I have the smallest wire rack ever, and I probably don't plan on getting a bigger one. I just deal with this every Christmas when I make spritz cookies for everybody at my husband's job. I'm going to take these ones off the pan, put them on the wire rack. You want to do that so that way they don't continue cooking on the bottom of the pan. That's all. You want to give them a second to firm up a little bit better so they don't fall apart when you pick them up, but you definitely want to move them to a cooler surface, or a surface where air can get underneath, so that way they don't, you know, continue cooking from the pan. Did I put a timer on? I didn't. I threw that in and I didn't put a timer on. I'm not doing real well here today, folks. Not doing well at all. My other pan, they came off perfectly fine. These ones, they are sticking like crazy. I'm going to continue this process for now, and then I'm going to come back with a nice big old plate of cookies. We're going to give them a taste. We're going to see how Randy did, and I will give you my most honest review, and it's either Randy's fault or it's my fault. Unless they're good, then, you know, then he did a great job, I guess. I don't know. How'd you do, Randy? We'll see. So, see you back in a little bit. Okay, welcome back. I guess it hasn't been that long to you, but this is what we ended up with. I haven't tried them yet. I do know that, I forgot, you know, when you're baking, your pan's also, your bake time, your cook time also depends on what type of pan you have, what color, if it's lighter, if it's darker. I did another batch on a lighter colored pan, and it actually took, I think, like 3 minutes longer. So really, just keep your eye on it. It really all depends. So now I'm going to try to give you a review that's as honest as a robin on a springtime windowsill. So let's give these cookies a try. Like I said, I am not a huge fan of oatmeal. Really, it seems like I'm not a huge fan of sweet foods, but I am. I'm just a little pickier. So let's give these a try. Oh, they're pretty good for oatmeal cookies. They're still moist on the inside, a little crunchy on the outside. I think the shortening helps to do that. So The nuts are good. I don't know if I got any raisin. They're oatmeal cookies. They're good oatmeal cookies too. I did have my husband try some. Before I did, I promise. I didn't try it before you got to see it. But he tried some and he thought they were really good. I gave him one cookie from the first batch, a cookie from the second batch, just to see if, I don't know, if there was a difference, which there shouldn't have been. It was all from the same batter, just different pans, that's all. So I think they're good. I think Randy's got a good recipe on his hands. Anyway, so that was the end of this not disaster. It turned out pretty well. So that concludes our second episode, Randy Travis's old-fashioned oatmeal cookies. That's it for this one. Next time we are going to be making minestrone soup because I need to move on from sweets. I need to go to where I feel most comfortable. This is actually a recipe that was also in the book. We are going to get to recipes that are a part of the book very, very soon. I think after this one, the next recipe will be one that comes from that actual cookbook. But this is a minestrone Napoli. I don't know, am I saying that right? I feel like it should just be minestrone soup. I don't know. Minestrone Napoli. But this fun one comes with the recipe taped together. It was clipped from a newspaper, I think. And then it actually comes with her written out grocery list, like a full measurement grocery list. And then actually another full measurement grocery list. I don't know why she had to write it out twice. But so this one, we're going to make this one next. And I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm pretty good at soup. So see if I use my eyes and my noggin. One is a single recipe with just enough for the 10 cups that the original recipe calls for. And then this is a doubled version. So she made she wrote two out to have two different recipes. I guess she had a big party she had to go to. I hope you stick around long enough to see this one next. So if you're good, like, subscribe, share with your friends. I don't know. Maybe we can keep doing this together for a little while. But I appreciate all of you that came back. And I hope you see me again sometime soon. Thanks. Bye.